So back in 1988, a little movie called Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers hit theaters. It followed the events of Halloween 1 and 2 10 years later. In it, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, is presumed dead, and the role of protagonist is shifted over to her alleged daughter, Jamie, and her adopted sister, Rachel. I'm sure you've all seen this one. Michael chases Rachel and Jamie throughout Haddonfield, while Dr. Loomis acts all, well, senile and shit. Ultimately ending with Michael getting shot firing squad style and falling down a mine shaft. Classic. But what if I told you this wasn't the original version of the movie? That's right, there's an abandoned Halloween 4 script somewhere out there that's completely different. One that we would never have known about until now. After the letdown of Part 3 and the lack of The Shape, John Carpenter approached Dennis Erickson. I think it's Erickson? I don't know. We're just going to call him Dennis. About writing a script for Halloween 4. He was immediately on board, and directly after finishing the script, Carpenter called him and told him that he and Deborah Hill sold the rights to Halloween, and the script couldn't be used. Well, fuck 'em. That was just a huge waste of time. I mean, what the hell is that about? With that being said, let's honor it by seeing what it could have been. So starting out, Loomis is dead. The explosion in the hospital straight up killed him, and Michael too. Well, allegedly. 10 years after the events of the first two films, Halloween is banned in Haddonfield, and parents have been keeping a close watch on their kids. The mother of Lindsay Wallace, the young girl from the first film, is shown having a nightmare, where Lindsay's walking up the stairs towards her, and then Michael emerges from her skin, just like burst out of it like a costume. And then blood begins to pour out from everywhere. Shining style. Tommy still lives across the street, but they aren't really allowed to interact with each other anymore. It then shows Sheriff Brackett and Deputy Hunt, returning from the originals. They've been busy dealing with all the fallout that still plagues the town ever since Michael's rampage. Not to mention Brackett is basically a shadow of who he was, showing greatly how bad Annie's death has affected him. A reporter named Mundy begins stirring up trouble in town as he runs around bringing up Halloween and Michael Myers in order to boost his own ratings. Mundy goes to Smith's Grove to meet up with Dr. Stern. She shows him a videotape of Loomis interacting with Michael, to show how Loomis dealt with the young boy. She explains that in her mind, Loomis created the shape due to feeding into the hysteria of Michael being pure evil rather than a human being. The tape shows Michael sitting in a white room with his back to Loomis. And Loomis, in true Loomis fashion of course, is screaming at Michael in that crazy voice, asking if he remembers what happened to his sister and that he's not fooling anybody, hiding what he truly is. And then he asks him, Michael! You know what you are! You don't know what you are! Why are you hiding? Come on, Michael, come out! I know what you really are! And then he asks Michael what they call him, where he comes from, implying that he's a demon or some shit, and then he raises his fist to him in anger. Well, yeah, no wonder he became a serial killer, dealing with this fucking guy. Loomis goes on berating Michael for a little bit longer, and then Michael slowly turns around and tilts his head at him, like he always does. Honestly, Loomis is just fucking crazy. I mean, he does have a rational reason for being this way towards Michael. Michael did kill his sister and stuff and has like zero emotion and everything, but, you know, just chill the fuck out, man. So anyway, he goes further into the facility and notices a statue that the other inmates have made out of sticks and straw or something, and the skinned face of a white rabbit is placed over its head, kind of portraying the Shatner mask. Basically, the other inmates idolize Michael as a god. Then we have Lonnie, the kid lurking around the Myers house in the original film. You remember him. Hey Lonnie, get your ass away from there. Yeah, that guy. He and some friends go to a drive-in where the climax of the movie takes place. But more on that later. A PSA is shown on the screen where they're talking about how horror movies should be allowed because they're just movies after all, and people enjoy them. Well, I agree. I would be pissed if movies got banned here. Oh wait, they did. So one of the girls in Lonnie's group travels to the outskirts of town to buy a pumpkin from a guy who blatantly looks and sounds like Freddy Krueger, and may even have been Robert Englund if the movie would have been made. So the girl's walking through the pumpkin patch, and suddenly there's an avalanche of pumpkins everywhere, and she trips and falls, and a scarecrow falls on top of her. Michael emerges from a mound of pumpkins, like a stripper coming out of a cake, and stabs her. Meanwhile, some kids in the neighborhood try to break into the old Myers house. One of the kids, Billy, who's Lonnie's younger brother, sends his dog inside, and when it comes back out, it coughs up 2 human fingers. Wait a minute, what? So I guess it's speculated that those are Michael's fingers, but they don't really say. I mean, if it is his fingers, this guy just kills and eats dogs on the regular, and this one time he gets his fingers bit off? Yeah. The next scene is just crazy, so bear with me. The delinquent kids go into a Halloween store and grab a shit ton of William Shatner masks, and then they run out. The shop owner is just kind of and shrugs it off, saying fuck it, and then he goes to the back and fucks a girl. They start having sex, and the guy's on top of the girl, thrusting or whatever, and he starts thrusting harder and harder. The girl tells him it's too much and tells him to slow down. Then the camera slowly starts to pan up to a 3-fingered hand holding the guy's head, moving him like a puppet. Alright, hold on. What the fuck is this about? The hand then drops the guy to the ground, who I guess was strangled to death. And the hand proceeds to jam a knife into the girl. Yeah, I'm guessing that was Michael's hand with the 3 fingers after all. I don't even know where to go from there. I mean, what? Anyway, so back to the drive-in where the climax takes place. So a bunch of cars are parked around the drive-in as a movie plays, and there's a thick fog surrounding the vehicles. Lonnie and his friends wander through the fog, discovering the bodies of moviegoers that lay victim to Michael. They don't show him kill anybody here, just the aftermath. Then Michael appears and chases Lonnie up to the projector booth. Once there, Michael passes by a projector playing Friday the 13th, which casts a shadow of him standing over Jason on the screen, teasing everybody. Well, yeah, that just gives me blue balls, so thanks for that. Suddenly the film burns through and the screen goes white. Then, Lonnie watches in disbelief as Michael's fingers start growing back. Wait, what? I mean, the supernatural thing's okay, and the not dying part is fine, but I'm drawing the line here at regeneration, no. So Lonnie dies, and then the real protagonist, Lindsay Wallace, shows up. He chases her through the lot, knocking over speaker stands as he goes. Just then, the kids that broke into the Myers house show up, wearing silver spray-painted Shatner masks. Then the cops show up as well, and proceed to have a standoff against Michael and the hoodlum kids. There's also people running around all crazy and shit in a panic. Tommy Doyle even shows up. Amidst all the pandemonium going on, Dr. Stern shows up from the hospital and calls out to Michael, offering to take him back to Smith's Grove in order to weed him out of the crowd of Michaels. And without hesitation, he grabs her and throws her aside. Deputy Hunt shoots Michael directly in the chest, but he brushes it off and kills him, and then continues after Lindsay. It's here where Tommy Doyle grabs a gun and shoots Michael point blank in the dick, and then directly in the head, blowing off a piece of his skull. And there you go, he's dead. Oh, wait a minute, he's not? Yeah, that figures. This literally does nothing but pisses him off. So if the fingers growing back wasn't bad enough, pay attention for this next part. Once Tommy's shot fails, the cops unload on Michael firing squad style, similar to the original ending we got in the other part 4. But then Michael absorbs each of the shots, causing him to grow rapidly and eventually become 12 feet tall. You don't know what you are! The shots begin to bounce off Michael and hit nearby cars, resulting in one explosion after another around the shape. Ultimately, Tommy and Lindsay are assumed dead in an explosion, but they do survive and go on the run to evade Michael. They find a barn and hide out, but Michael finds them and kills Lindsay. This turns out to be a dream, though, when she wakes up in the barn the following day after falling asleep that night. And then it shows a pumpkin patch on a sunny day and goes straight to credits, playing the Halloween theme. So I guess Michael is just MIA this whole time. I mean, they didn't really say if he lives or dies at the drive-in or not. Alright, well, aside from growing 12 feet tall and growing his damn fingers back, it wasn't all that bad. I mean, was it really better than the Halloween 4 we got? What do you guys think? I think basically what Dennis was trying to say through the film is that Michael Myers is the Shape. Not a man, not a human being, but he truly is pure evil in the shape of a man. Even in the shell of what used to be a man. That's the message I believe he was trying to display in the film. Well, would you rather have had this version Or the other one. Alright guys, see you later. What's up guys? On today's video, I want to talk about another Halloween film that was almost made. So, the script was written by Shim Bitterman, and is called Halloween 5, The Killer Inside Me. It picks up after the events of Halloween 4, but instead of it being like a full year later, it's the same night. So it's a continuation pretty much. It's kind of got a Halloween 1 and 2 vibe going on. Basically, he still gets shot and falls down the mine shaft, but he doesn't get nursed back to health by like some random hermit for a year. Also, Jamie still kills her stepmom. So, some things are still canon, I guess. But from there, there's no Tina in this one, because Rachel never dies, which is good because nobody likes Tina anyway. And Rachel becomes more of like the heroine against Michael, kind of like Laurie Strode. She fights against him throughout the movie like a few times. And again, I'm really happy that there's not a Tina because I really hated that character. She didn't have any kind of character arc or anything. She was just kind of put there to die, and she was annoying as shit. I really didn't mind Michael killing her off.
Celebrate good times, come on. Let's celebrate.
So Rachel has a new boyfriend, I guess, named Tom. He's like pretty much a cookie cutter jock. Same as like any of these other jocks from any of these other movies. It's the same shit. On a good note, Lindsay Wallace makes an appearance in this one. I'm not sure if they would have used Kyle Richards though, but it would have been pretty cool if they did. Anyway, she's in it briefly but gets killed off after Michael shows up at her house and like bangs on her door like all aggressively, and eventually he stabs through the door with like a fire poker and impales her. So she gets like a little cameo, I guess. And of course, we have Loomis back, crazier than ever before. After watching what Jamie did at the end of part 4, Loomis just pretty much follows her around the whole movie and tries to kill her. It's really unclear though if she still wants to kill or not. She still goes to get evaluated, all the same. But the difference is, and this is where I was like, the fuck? Is that not only do Jamie and Michael share a psychic connection, but they have fucking telekinetic powers in this one. Yeah, like Jean Grey style. Why? Just why? And then from here, the story kind of shifts from like, Michael Myers to Jamie, more focusing on Loomis trying to kill her throughout the movie. At one point, Loomis traps her in like this room and tries to stab her with a syringe full of cyanide. It's fucking crazy. In self-defense, though, she duplicates herself into, like, a bunch of clones. And then this, like, freaks Loomis the fuck out. And then she tells the clones not to harm him. And so he has, like, a change of heart all of a sudden, realizing that she's not evil. And then, yeah, he just goes right back to protecting her from Michael. I guess he just, like, brushes off the fact that she has, like, fucking superpowers now. This is some weird shit, man. I don't know, this Bitterman guy is, like, on crack. But don't worry. Don't you worry, it gets much worse. So later, Rachel and Jamie are hiding from Michael in like this grain silo when Michael just appears out of nowhere, as he tends to do. But not one Michael, 5 of them. So then Loomis shows up and he's trying to like pick the real Michael out of the crowd, and he pretty much nails it on the first try, and he pulls Michael's mask up over his face, revealing his true face. Michael's taken aback by this at first, and there's like a weird moment of like awkward silence, and then suddenly he just grabs Loomis and like aggressively breaks his neck. So, I don't know, I'm trying to picture what the scene would look like. Michael, I know you're here! I'm going to get you, and here you are! And then Michael's like, well fuck, man. So then from here, Tom gets in a tractor and just runs over Michael with it, and it really doesn't seem to do much. And while this is going on, Rachel's holding on to Jamie, and then she gets stabbed in the stomach, like off screen, and we're like, oh shit, is Jamie doing that? But no, it's Michael. So he tosses Rachel off to the side, and then she pretty much just bleeds out and dies. And then the final confrontation happens between Michael and Jamie. Alright, well, if there's anything to get excited about, maybe it's this. Maybe at least we'll get a telekinesis fight or something, right? Oh, no, of course not. As Michael's advancing on Jamie, she just tells him that she's not afraid of him, and then he just, falls to the floor all cowardly, and they pull his mask off to reveal that he's reverted back to being a child. Wait, what? Hold on, guys, I'm gonna reread that one more time. Okay, yep, that's what it said. So he reverted back to being a child, somehow. I don't fucking know. In the end, Tom and Jamie are driving away, and out of nowhere the car crashes into a tree. It then slowly reveals that Tom had a screwdriver jammed into his head, and the final shot of the movie is Jamie exiting the car and walking away wearing the clown costume, leaving us wondering just what the hell is going on. So, how do you guys feel about this one? I mean, Michael with cloning ability, Loomis trying to kill Jamie, the cool but pretty brief return of Lindsay. I mean, is it better than the actual Part 5? Let me answer this for you. Hell no. That shit was bananas. This guy, Bitterman, or whatever his name is, in an interview, literally bragged about it only taking 3 days to write this script. He didn't even care about it. He kept being real cocky and nonchalant, yeah, I wrote that Halloween script, it only took me 3 days. Fuck you, bro. You don't take this shit seriously? Fuck you. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next one. What's up guys? So Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Not everyone's favorite film in the series, what with Michael's long-ass neck and then Loomis being a crazy asshole the whole time. But still, I mean, it is what it is, and it's a classic in its own right. With that being said, what if I told you that the film that we got wasn't the original idea? Well, when meeting with Akkad for a pitch, director of the film, Dominique, whatever the hell this guy's name is, brought in Robert Harders, a friend of his, to pitch Akkad his own version of the film. And Akkad just wasn't about it, at all. So let's find out why. The film starts off where Part 4 ended, with Michael getting shot and falling down the mine shaft. He falls onto the crumpled concrete and steel below, that sits next to the riverbed. Except in this version, that shit just killed him. He's fucking dead. So then suddenly, a thunderstorm comes rolling in, out of nowhere, and lightning strikes the steel rebar surrounding his body, electrocuting and, of course, reanimating Michael's body. So hold on, wait a minute. This is Friday Part 6. This is literally Jason Lives. Did they just watch that and they were like, oh, this looks good, let's do this? And then, I guess, this guy, Harders, even told Akkad that he was heavily influenced by the old Frankenstein movies, the black and white ones. So, that's never a good sign. I can't wait to see where this is going. So the lightning reanimates Michael, but his consciousness just isn't there. Basically, he's like an empty shell, or... I'm just gonna say it, guys. He's a Frankenstein. Damn it, I should have seen this coming. So then, Michael starts shambling about town with no real intent. Oh, here we go. And then the film basically starts to view him as more or less the protagonist, with the redneck mob returning from Part 4 as the bad guys. It's very apparent that this guy, whatever his name is, Harders, he's just all about Frankenstein, and he's just, yeah, he's fucking this shit up real bad. I'm literally waiting to hear him go, Michael hurt! Michael not like fire! Fire bad! So as the cops and the vigilante mob are both after Michael, Loomis shows up and acknowledges the fact that this isn't Michael anymore. Any ounce of the shape that we knew is just gone, and he's basically just I'm not gonna say the word again. So, Jamie Lloyd is not in this one, but she's mentioned, briefly. So what about the end of Part 4, where she stabs the stepmom, and she's wearing the clown costume? Are they not even gonna address that? Fuck it, I guess. So there isn't really much more to tell. I mean, the redneck mob ultimately bands together and kills Michael again, but this time, he's not really killing anyone or doing anything, he's just kind of existing. But I'm sure the townspeople are still pissed from the previous movie, and they don't really understand what's happening. So, yeah, that's about it. This one's more or less just a modern day Frankenstein story. No wonder Akkad was pissed. By the end of the movie, you almost feel bad for Michael. And like I said, Akkad just wasn't feeling it at all. And now I understand why. I mean, at the end of the day, the script's not terrible. All right, no, I can't say that. It was bad. Whoever wrote this sucks. What do you guys think, though? Would you guys like to have seen this version as opposed to the one that we got? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this. All right, guys. Until the next one. See you later. Michael hurt. Fire bad. How's it going, everyone? So, we all know and love the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Freddy Krueger is a horror icon, and the films were all instant classics. There were originally 8 films, with one being a crossover, and then of course there's the reboot, which apparently didn't go over so well with the die-hard fans. I mean, I liked it, but that's just me. But then again, it turned Freddy Krueger from a child murderer to a fucking creepy pedophile at a preschool, so who the hell wants that? Anyway, so throughout the films, they've shown bits and pieces of Freddy prior to becoming the Dream Demon, most notably in Part 6, and even more so in the reboot. But, what if I told you there was a whole movie out there dedicated to his origin?
Kill him once, burning him alive. Kill him twice, drag him to the other side. Nightmare on Elm Street, where I'm trapped inside a dream. Nightmare on Elm Street, where no one can hear me scream. Nightmare on Elm Street, where I'm trapped inside a dream.
So back in the day, John Saxon, the guy who played Nancy's dad in parts 1 and 3, actually wrote a script for the prequel. It was called How Nightmare Began, and it takes place in 1969. So Donald Thompson, which was Saxon's character, is a young cop, and he tracks his missing daughter to a hippie commune. Not Nancy. Apparently, in the other film, Nancy had an older half-sister. They just didn't mention her. So anyway, Donald tracks his older daughter to the commune, and he tries to yank her out of there and take her to a child therapist. And guess who the freaking doctor is? Yep, Frederick Krueger. This doesn't really keep up with the continuity of the films, but what the hell do I know? Let's keep going. So later on, Donald meets up with all these other angry parents who are accusing Krueger of committing all these child murders around the area. He's pretty skeptical about everything, though, and pretty much wants to hear it from Krueger himself. So, of course, he drugs him and kidnaps him, and then Freddy wakes up in the Thompsons' basement, surrounded by all these angry-ass parents who are trying to force a confession out of him. To which he's pretty much just like, your kids died because you ignored them. Which is true. I mean, if you think back on all the Elm Street movies, the parents are kind of aloof to everything and just don't seem to give a shit, so that tracks. So, they burn him alive anyway, despite what he says, and then he ends up coming back in their children's dreams, much like it was originally. So now here's the old Shyamalan twist for you. Freddy was actually innocent. The person or people responsible for all the child murders going on were people that were associated with the Charles Manson cult. Yep, that's what I said, Charles Manson. So from there, it seems to pretty much continue on as a typical Freddy movie, with him killing the kids in their dreams. But yeah, the main part I really wanted to talk about was the origin. Actually, what would be cool, and I know a lot of people think this too, is if they followed his original origin with him going to trial, and then got a really long trial scene, or shit, I'm okay with the entire movie just being the trial. How cool would that be? We can see the defense attorney and the evidence that got botched, which led to him going free, and then the rise of all the parents forming an angry mob to hunt him down. That would be fucking awesome. So, Overall, Saxon's script isn't bad. I mean, I like his originality with the twist of Freddy being innocent. Um, and they did fake us out in the reboot with that, only for him to actually end up being like a sick ass pedophile. But yeah, I have no idea what happened to this script or if anyone at New Line ever even read it, but they should have. I wonder what Robert Englund would have thought of it. I'm sure he'd be down to play Freddy one last time, as long as the material is fresh and innovative. Alright guys, well, just wanted to let you know about that because I thought it was pretty cool. So that's all I got. And thanks for watching. I'll see you later. What's up guys? So, if you were a fan of the original Halloween series, then you probably hated Rob Zombie's Halloween. While it wasn't a shot-for-shot remake, it did dive further into Michael's childhood and his time at Smith's Grove. It basically showed us his descent into becoming the Shape. While a lot of fans liked it, most of you didn't, and I get it. With that being said, at least Rob Zombie was bound by certain parameters of the original film, but of course when Part 2 was greenlit, all bets were off, and he turned Halloween 2 into just another House of a Thousand Corpses type situation. It was bad. Like, really bad. There were white horses, hallucinations of young Michael, of course he had to throw his fucking wife in there again, and a cocky Dr. Loomis, which he was like a famous author at this point, I guess. Oh, and let's not forget Goth Laurie, who ends up being the next Michael, presumably. It was bullshit. Well, guess what? Someone actually okayed a third film. Yeah, Rob Zombie wrote a Part 3 in 3D. I know, it's ridiculous. So just wait till you hear what the script says. So, the film opens up with the ending of Part 2, where the sheriff's department trapped Michael in the shed and Laurie is with him. Loomis is there too, but she stabbed him to death thinking he was Michael for some reason. Anyway, so it's in her perspective, and as the sheriff's department closes in on the shed, they notice that Michael has escaped through a hole in the floor. As Sheriff Brackett is putting Laurie in his cruiser to take her to Smith's Grove, Michael appears and attacks him. He grabs his mask and knife, which have been taken for evidence, and then he and Laurie go on the run. Yeah, 3D or not, this is already becoming a shit show. I'm not sure how I feel about this. So, Michael takes Laurie to their mother's grave, and they steal the gravestone. Why? We'll never know. That's the last we hear of that. So enter this group of kids at a party, including Amy, who I guess is the main one? They leave to go TP some houses, and Amy bails out. She ends up running into Laurie at the graveyard. I guess they dug up Deborah because Laurie throws Amy into the hole, and she falls into her mother's casket, and then she closes her up in there, with the decayed body still inside. This is just all over the place so far, but let's keep reading. And so far, I'm guessing that Laurie is just like an asshole in this one, opposed to being the next Michael. And where the hell is Michael, anyway? So Sheriff Brackett and his deputy, this guy named Goodman, are following them around town, and they end up at this dam. For whatever reason, Michael is toting around his mother's corpse. Just like carrying that shit on his shoulder, I guess. State troopers show up and surround them all. And then a van pulls up, and out steps Josie, Dr. Loomis's protege. She's like this young, hot, fucking therapist with like huge boobs. Typical shit. I don't know who they would have got to play her, though. While Brackett and Josie try to reason with Laurie, Michael massacres every last state trooper in a huge bloodbath. Apparently it was supposed to be like a really like badass scene with like strobe lights and they're like getting fucking annihilated. Kind of like the scene from Part 6 in like the surgery area. Something like that. So in order to try and get Michael to stop, Brackett just aims a gun at Deborah's corpse and starts shooting it. Michael stops pretty much immediately and puts all of his attention on Brackett. But somehow, they all manage to escape in an ambulance. Brackett, Goodman, Josie, Amy, and I don't know, I guess Laurie's there too, in the ambulance with them. And of course, Michael's hanging on the back because plot. So he gets in and starts killing even more people while they're driving down like this road on the dam. And then it ends with like the ambulance crashing and it sends Laurie through the windshield. She's all fucked up with broken bones laying on the street. And then I guess the vehicle like swerves and like Michael lands behind it and it pins him to the wall and it catches on fire. So Amy and the others get out of the ambulance just as it falls off the dam and into the water below, with Michael falling right behind it on fire. This would have been like one of those really weird 3D shots with him just falling at the camera. Like, I don't know. So Laurie's like all fucked up with broken bones, like I said, and Michael is burnt to a crisp. But he's like left for dead in the water. So all of a sudden Laurie stands up. I don't know if she has like a change of heart here or what, but she thinks that she's shooting at Michael, but she actually ends up shooting Brackett in the head, killing him. But then why was she palling around with Michael the whole time, just to like switch sides? We don't know. Anyway, so she kills Brackett, not Michael. Which I guess leaves her, Goodman, the new therapist Josie, and the final girl, Amy. So they go back to the mental hospital and get admitted, I guess. And then it jumps to like a year later, and Amy's getting out of Smith's Grove when she runs into Laurie on the street. And Laurie's pretty much still insane at this point, thinking Michael's still after her. I don't know. I guess this whole time he's been like presumed dead in the fall off the dam, probably getting shredded by like turbines or something. Anyway, so sometime later, Goodman has become obsessed with Michael, much like Loomis did, thinking he's still alive, and of course, no one believes him. In the meantime, Deborah got cremated, and he keeps her urn on his desk, because that's not fucking creepy at all. Oh, and also, he's been sleeping with Josie, so that's a thing. So there's a scene where Michael shows up at a Halloween store with his mask melted to his face. Oh shit, he's still alive. Go figure. Some kid is stocking some Halloween items, and he asks his boss about a certain mask. I wonder which one. The boss tells him it's been discontinued. Well, yeah, for good reason, I guess. And then Michael shows up, kills the kid, and takes it. So he's got like the last one, and look, he's got a brand new mask on. Great. Then Michael shows up at Smith's Grove and cuts the power right before he starts killing everyone. Namely, Amy's group of friends from that party earlier. I guess they're all at Smith's Grove for whatever reason. Laurie's there too, and as she tries to leave with Michael, Amy handcuffs herself to her. Goodman shows up with Deborah's urn, which he stuffed with C4. That's right. So, in the midst of everything, Amy and Laurie are fighting, and to get away, Laurie ends up cutting her own hand off. Like, what the fuck? And then it cuts over to Goodman, who's laying on the floor, all fucked up. I guess he fought Michael and got stabbed a bunch of times. Amy runs over to him and notices a long cut on his stomach. This is kind of like right out of The Dark Knight, that scene in like, GCPD with the Joker and the bomb. Yeah. Turns out Michael shoved the C4 in his stomach, and then, bam, it blows up, sending Amy flying. But she's still presumed to be alive, so she's okay. Laurie, looking utterly defeated, grabs Michael's knife while he's still holding it and shoves it into her stomach, saying she wants it all to end. Michael kind of gives her that classic head tilt, like he understands, and then he plunges the knife deeper into her, killing her. At the end, Michael's standing over her body as more cops show up, and then once they raid the building, he's gone. The end. Well, it was definitely better than Halloween 2 was. Let me reiterate that. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. That's for sure. There was a lot of gore and some awesome kills. I'm not really sure how the 3D would have looked, but I would have liked to have seen it just to, give it a shot. Anything's better than the one that we got, to be honest. And of course we're left with the possibility for a part 4, with Amy and Josie both still alive. Who's to say what would have happened if we got this film? I mean, there probably would not be a Halloween 2018 or Halloween Kills. So, how do you feel about it? Would you have liked to have seen this movie? Did you like Rob Zombie's take on the series? Alright guys, well, I guess I'll see you on the next one. Back in 2013, a trailer hit YouTube featuring Pinhead in what looked to be a Hellraiser film called Hellraiser Origins. The trailer gained over 80,000 views in the first week it was published. Artist Paul Gerard noticed a decline in the quality of the Hellraiser films as the series progressed and said that a reboot was necessary. He then came up with the concept of Hellraiser Origins, which would serve as a reboot and a prequel at the same time, and was said to honor some of the more recent Hellraiser comic books.
Welcome to Hell.
The production of the film took over 2.5 years from its pre-production to the premiere, which had most fans thinking that the reboot maybe just wasn't happening. And during the production for Origins, the majority of the publicity for the film was put on Facebook, which is also how Gerard put together a crew for the film, with 47 crew members and 100 extras who all shared Gerard's vision for the reboot. So I guess it was like a fan film, or I don't know, something. Concept art was displayed on Gerard's Facebook, but any concept art of Pinhead himself was kept under wraps. And the filming for this took place in a single day in London. After filming was done, a piece for the film was published in Bloody Disgusting magazine, with concept art included. It was made clear that this was not an official production, and that it probably wouldn't get picked up by Dimension Films, same as the other films in the series. In regard to Pinhead's design, once it was released, it was received poorly. The reimagining left fans let down, especially since Doug Bradley was not tied to the film and would not be playing Pinhead. With that, the film just never came to be. The trailer still exists on YouTube, but we'll never know what could have been. When asked, Paul Gerard had this to say: "I am sad to have to announce that it is very unlikely now that Hellraiser Origins will get made. The world and current film market just wasn't ready for such an elaborate take on the HR universe. We aimed so very high in every single aspect of this feature, but alas, perhaps we aimed too high. Hellraiser Origin would have shocked, elated, thrilled, and amazed its audience. I fully believe that, but alas, the studio and press did not get behind us. So, to hell with them. Only the fans got behind us, and I thank you all. The creative hub created from this epic process will never be tamed. We will be back one way or another. With a vengeance. I thank you all for your support and dedication. I have been taken to the heights of elation producing, creating this beast, crushing with disappointment at its failure to find its ground. It's took me a long while to get back to normal, whatever normal is, but expect dark hell to surface from me again. It has to. You can't hold that back." Just 6 days prior to the intended release for Origins, Clive Barker, the director and creator of the original films, announced that he was working on his own Hellraiser reboot, which would feature Doug Bradley as Pinhead. So, there you go. It would have been an interesting concept, but it's just not happening. Although now, they are working on a Hellraiser film coming out in 2022, with Pinhead being gender swapped as a female. So, stay tuned for that. Alright guys, I'll see you later.